Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Marketplace. My name is Daryl Kwao. Coming up this afternoon, we've got talking points from the Joy Business Industrialization Roundtable. Industries say decoupling value-added tax is creating losses. We'll hear from an expert. Meanwhile, Association of Ghana Industries calls on government to fast-track the disbursement of 600 million cedi stimulus package. And tonight, this afternoon, airline industry to suffer as investors like Warren Buffett dump airline stocks. We'll tell you how that is likely to change air travel forever. Thanks for making a date. We've got details right after this break. In our first story this afternoon, a tax consultant, William Demitier, has backed calls by some manufacturing firms for government to reintroduce the former tax scheme where the National Health Insurance Levy and Get Fund were combined as VAT. According to him, the decoupling of the two has put additional burden on businesses. Tax consultant William Demitier was speaking at the Joy Business Industrialization Roundtable at Kasapreku Beverage premises in Okra.
Government had a bit of a challenge in raising revenue. And so when government had that challenge, government said that, okay, fine, there's a way we can look at raising revenue. What do? Let's make some components of the build-up a flat levy. That is, if it's a flat levy, then it simply means that you do not have to get the benefit of deducting that 5% that you paid on your purchases. For people in industry, it's a lot because depending on their purchases, it's a lot of money, which increases their cost. And so that is why those in manufacturing said that that is a huge cost that is coming to us, and therefore government must look at it. I agree to a large extent that that is a cost that shouldn't have been introduced because we ended up increasing the cost of doing business for industries or manufacturing companies. And we've never found a way to be able to ameliorate it for them. And so, even though it's bringing government revenue, it's creating a lot of distortions as far as the price build-up and cost build-up of manufacturing entities are concerned. And whenever they raise a concern, I agree that it's a cost that government must look at. There are other ways we can look at raising revenue than doing that decoupling and making VAT NHIL a flat levy and saying VAT should also run as a flat levy. Because as of now, the VAT rate, effective rate is 18.125. It's not 17.5 because the 12.5% is imposed on an amount that includes the 5%. So the VAT is actually 13.125, not 12.5%. And so whenever industry makes that argument that it is a cost that they don't want to bear, I agree.
Meanwhile, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is optimistic that the disbursement of government stimulus package for businesses will fast-track in mitigating the negative impact of COVID-19. Now, speaking to Joy Business at the Maiden Industrialization Forum, Mr. Chumakwawa said the package, when disbursed timely, will help alleviate the plight of collapsing businesses in the country. Here's more in this report.
The government's 600 million cedi stimulus package is expected to support Ghanaian businesses that may be negatively affected by the outbreak of the novel coronavirus. According to Chief Executive of the AGI, Seth Chumakwabwa, the package is a good one and hoping that all the necessary documentation will be done quickly to allow businesses access the fund.
Because it is, on one hand, a stimulus package or a relief package. On the other hand, it's going to be a loan that has to be paid back. So if you are ensuring that the loans that are given out is paid back, then you need to have the right modalities. Otherwise, you have a challenge in getting the money back. So perhaps that explains why it is delaying. So you need to look at all the intricacies of it and make sure that you develop it. And you see, when you're coming up with the policy, you need to do it in a way that it doesn't become a counterproductive policy. So you need to think through and do the impact assessment and so many things to get it right. But I can fully agree with you that definitely industries, because of the crisis, they're in a hurry to move. And therefore, if you're coming up with any package, you need to really fast track it and make it happen soonest. But I'm mindful of the fact that proper thing has to be done so that when you come up with it, it wouldn't become one of the usual policies that sometimes you backtrack and go and change this and go and change that. So maybe it's worth waiting and getting it right than to rush it and then have challenges with it.
Director for Blue Skies West Africa Ruth J on her side noted that businesses need more incentives from government to survive after the pandemic.
Every day is a blessing, every day is a challenge on its own, where you have to make sure that things work out. You can't pre-plan and work because every day has its own challenges. Ghana has opened up the lockdown. All other countries, most of them have not. Yeah. So you are not able to even fly in easily as you normally do. So the challenges, it's not just Ghana, it's a global thing. And it's very difficult to just plan in Ghana and say that we are okay because Ghana is out of the lockdown. It's the ramification from other countries that makes that impact more severe. So the government support should go beyond just the cuts. Of course, I mean, if you are looking at only the two places, paying salaries and financing debts, and then we have a problem. And it's not just about the 10 pointers, as we are all aware. It's about what you have that you make it sustainable.
The Industrialization Roundtable is a forum organized by Joy Business under the theme On the Runway to Industrialization. Will COVID-19 provide the catalyst? Ebenezer Sabote's report for Joy Business.
So the Spare Parts Dealers Association says it is working on a list of its members to benefit from government's 600 million stimulus package. Their businesses are not spared the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Charles Aite has more.
These are uncertain times for spare part dealers at Aboagye-Wiafe as the coronavirus bites hard on revenues. Spare part dealers are compiling a list of over 100 shop owners who will be benefiting from the 600 million cedi stimulus package for SMEs. Here is co-chairman of the Aboagye-Wiafe Spare Parts Dealers Association, Clement Boateng.
So Aboagye-Wiafe Spare Parts Association, which is part of GUTA, is also in the process of compiling, names of its members, because when we visited the National Board for Small Scale Industries, they told us that even though we've already sent lists of associations to the Trade Ministry, we should also compile individual members of respective associations, to them, so that they, being the agency that are working on it, will do the final data and then send it to the appropriate authorities for the disbursement of the package.
COVID-19 has led to the shortage of some stock here. Suppliers have suspended production due to the outbreak. They say although there are alternatives to some of the products they import from China, the associated challenges have slowed down their businesses.
This place is home to thousands of car engines that are being imported day in and day out to meet demand here at Aboagye-Wiafe. I've been interacting with the secretary in charge of this entire place, and he says importation cuts due to the COVID-19 has left them with no option than to woo customers who are out of the country as we speak now. This is going to impact on sales. It's going to leave the jobs of most of these guys in jeopardy and the entire business on a balance.
It has affected everybody. Affected everybody. But we must keep our fingers crossed. Now, because of the borders and these things have been closed, we can't do that until everything is clear. So we have to go over the old stock, and then the goods we have imported.
I stopped by the shop of James Otu, a dealer who fears his business could tumble should the coronavirus linger.
Our friends from outside, like Takrade and the rest, they are afraid to come because of the situation in Accra. The figures are very high, so they are afraid to come. Yeah, business is a little bit low. As compared to before the pandemic, business has come down.
You can see for yourself, most of these guys are just seated idle, no business whatsoever for them. We've interacted with most of them. You can see that they're just standing in front of their shops, people not attending to them, and even the free spaces available, the free car parks available, it's very clear and indicative of the impact this is having on their business.
They are waiting for the customers to come so that I can work for them. Yeah. They're like maybe from 5 o'clock over there. 5 o'clock in the morning. I come to work early. Yeah. I'm still waiting for the customers.
You heard it for yourself. He's been seated since 5 a.m. waiting for customers to come.
The effects of COVID-19 in Ghana is indelible. Already hundreds of workers have been laid off by employers unable to balance revenue with significant losses being accrued. Clement Boateng laments the impact layoffs would have on the spare parts industry.
The recent layoffs could really have an impact on our business, because you are all aware that government employs a little over 600,000 in the public sector. All the employment in the country here is being generated by the private sector. And with the advent of this COVID-19, the private sector is also affected. We are aware that a lot of the private sector people are currently sitting at home. So if somebody is sitting at home and he has to service his vehicle and does not have money, then the person will also not come and then purchase something from us.
Though government has introduced a stimulus package for SMEs amid the pandemic, spare part dealers here want more to be done to safeguard their businesses in these trying times. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
Turning next to the impact of COVID-19 on the aviation sector, and some airlines have kicked against the idea of ensuring social distancing on board flights as they seek to operate in the wake of the novel coronavirus pandemic, arguing it's simply not viable. But here in Ghana, domestic airline operators are in strict adherence to social distancing protocols, leaving seats vacant to ensure adequate spacing, amongst others. Sheila Tamaklo was on board a Passion Air flight to Tamale and reports.
Passenger turnout on day one of resuming domestic commercial flights after the lockdown was surprisingly high. New protocols such as checking of temperature, mandatory wearing of face masks and the use of hand sanitizers and social distancing were enforced. Passengers even had to hold out their ID from a distance. On board, some seats were left vacant to ensure social distancing. Sean Mendes is the Chief Operating Officer of Africa World Airlines.
Well, so far the response has been very positive. We've had a number of passengers who've been very eager to get back to flying. All our flights today are sold out, so that's been a start. It'll be quiet over the weekend because obviously business has not yet opened and it's a long weekend. But we're very positive that as things begin to get a little more back to normal and people get used to the protocols involved with the social distancing and the sanitization and so forth, that we are obviously using sanitizers to wipe down all the surfaces which are used. We are using microfiber cloths for the cleaning because these actually are the best ones to use rather than woven fiber. We use hand sanitizers throughout. We have disinfectant sprays which are used to wipe down inside the aircraft, as well as at the baggage area there is a more heavy-duty chemical. You've seen the spray tanks and things which are used to disinfect the baggage and the equipment and the buses which are used to transport the passengers. So overall there's a lot of work which has gone into developing the right formulations and everything in terms of ensuring that the right safety precautions and the right products are being used which are effective specifically against coronavirus, to be able to ensure that anything that a passenger or our staff come in contact with is properly sterilized.
So this is the waiting area where passengers are waiting to board their aircraft. Now, one thing you observe here is this signage on the seats which says, "Please do not sit here." So this is to ensure that there's spacing to adhere to the social distancing protocols, like you can see with these two passengers. This is to ensure that there's no transmission through close contact. Passengers were impressed with the enhanced safety measures at the airport.
I'm very impressed because I came from US. We do the same thing over there. So when I came here, I always carry my gloves and my mask. So that one is very safe for us. I mean, it's very good. They're doing a good job here.
I picked the bus earlier. However, they are not adhering to the safety measures. But for the airlines, the protocols are being enforced and we are being checked at every point.
Deputy Minister for Aviation Yao Afol assured government's commitment to protect passengers and urged passengers to adhere to the new protocols for their safety.
The government is very, very, very interested in making sure that everybody in this country is safe, particularly those who are going to be getting on the various aircraft. So my message to them is make sure that all the protocols that have been set in place is followed. Don't get angry at staff if he or she tells you to go and use a sanitizer. Don't tell them, oh, I just use it, so I'm not going to use it. You follow exactly what they tell you to do at the airport when you get to the airport. I believe if we do that, we are all going to be safe.
So right from the terminal, your temperature is checked, there's social distancing, the workers and the staff who handle your documents regularly sanitized to ensure there's no transmission. Now here on the air side, if you observe, passengers come out one at a time to ensure social distancing. If you move on, before you board, you're also handed hand sanitizers to ensure that you sanitize your hands before you get to board the aircraft. All these are part of the new measures and protocols that have been introduced by the airport authorities and the Ghana Port Health to ensure that we're able to contain the spread of the coronavirus as Ghana has taken the bold step to begin its domestic flight operations. So my next stop is going to be Tamale, where we'll be seeing if the same thing is happening over there. So come on board. For domestic airlines like Passion Air, flying during the coronavirus crisis means they have to operate under exceptional circumstances. They have to implement a number of hygienic measures such as regular hand sanitizing, compulsory wearing of face masks, and a principal guideline of social distancing on board. In order to ensure the social distancing on board, some seats are left unoccupied, translating into lower passenger load for the airlines. Samuel Tichi is the marketing and sales manager for Passion Air.
Averagely, we take 35, 50 thereabout. So it's a good load. But with the social distancing, currently we are averaging or taking about 38 passengers. So you have about 40 seats going waste. Those are. But parents traveling with their children can do that. They can sit together. That is allowed.
Observing social distancing on board appears to be something quite challenging for the airlines. Because for most of these airlines, it means giving about 1/3 of their seats away. There's empty seats, and this is money that will be lost. So the question now becomes, how will the airlines absorb this cost, and are passengers willing to pay an extra cedi or more just to ensure their safety as they continue to fly?
I'll say yes and no, because some people may not be able to afford the increase in prices. Others may be able to afford. So this will depend on the individual. But for me, where I sit, increasing a bit will not be bad. But if it is increased to a level that it will affect a lot of people, then you see that they will not be able to get the number of passengers that they want to in order to make up their cost.
One of the impacts of COVID has been its impact on the economy now and then going ahead. So I think that it might be difficult to say customers are going to absorb any increases in prices, but as people are asking for stimulus packages and all that, I think the government should come in now, whether it has to do with taxes or anything like that, so that the burden rather goes to the government, so to speak, rather than it being transferred to customers or the aviation sector.
With most airlines having already burnt through their cash reserves after weeks of being grounded, how will they cope?
This is where inventory management comes in. Previously we had promo fares and we have discounted fares and low fares. Because of the social distancing that we are experiencing, those ones have been wiped out, and so our fares are taking effect from the silver fare class. We have the bronze, silver, and then the gold fare class. So now we're selling from silver upwards. The current situation is a very fluid situation. It's very difficult to forecast now. I mean, things are changing very fast. So we expect to have an evaluation of this current phase after 4 to 6 weeks. And then afterwards, we take a decision and then see the way forward.
As the local airlines struggle to mitigate the growing impact of the COVID-19 on their revenues, there are also calls for government to intervene to save the airline operators so passengers can continue to fly.
I think government should come in to help. If they'll bear part of the cost because of the social distances, because it will go a long way to affect the airline itself. So if you don't take a month or two and they realize business is not good, if you don't take it, they will halt their activity. So government should come in to support them.
We believe that government has a vested interest in the aviation industry because aviation plays a vital role in the growth of the economy. And with the interest of the government in the growth of the aviation industry and the economy at large, I believe government will do something to aid the sector.
So as a player yourself, have you applied and have you seen any steps being taken towards this?
As a player, we are doing what we have to do, and then we just believing that the government with its vested interest would make a move that would be to the benefit of everybody.
So right from the Kotoka airport to on board the airline, that is Passion Air, and right here at the Tamale airport, airport authorities are not leaving any stone unturned in ensuring that the new safety protocols are observed to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Now, here at Tamale, you can observe that a makeshift system has been set up here for passengers to wash their hands and also sanitize before they get into the boarding area or the arrival halls. Reporting for Joy Business from the Tamale Airport, my name is Sheila Tamaklo.
And that interesting report on how the domestic aviation sector is being affected by the coronavirus pandemic and, of course, new measures to improve on social distancing. And as we said in our intro, we are going to have a global look at the impact on air travel globally. That is on Business Live. That's at 5 p.m. Don't miss it. Thanks for watching The Marketplace. My name is Darryl Kwao. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.